Hi everyone, this is Jay Harris coming to you from Tom's Trading Room. In my previous video, I did a last darknet case study for 2019, stating that I would do a last money calendar case study for 2019, and this is that video. Here we are logged into the tools. Let's go ahead and left click on the money calendar icon and bring that up. So we are at the last trading day of 2019, and you'll look down the calendar in the money calendar tools and you're going to see that there's nothing there for December 31st. That doesn't mean that the markets are closed and we're not trading. It just means that, well, there's 252 business or trading days this year. But if you look back over the past 10, there's only a handful that had 252 business or trading days. So if we put the data in there and not all the years have the same amount of trading days, then you're not going to get the accurate assessment for the 10-year review. So we're not calculating the data for December 31st here. We are closed tomorrow, Wednesday, January 1st. Happy New Year, everybody. So if we're going to look at the next business day, and we're already halfway through the trading day, or actually we're just about to close, what we want to do is just look at the next trading day and see if there's a trading opportunity for us based off the money calendar. So let's click on January 2nd. I guess technically we could say this might be the first case study for 2020 versus the last case study for 2019, since we're looking at a January 2nd start date. Nonetheless, when we click on the money calendar, we get the columns up here. We want to double left click on the power meter. That way we get the highest positive power meter ranking down to the lowest. And out of the top 10, 11, 12, and it's not topped by anything other than just the highest power meter, I'm going to click on CMG, Chipotle Mexican Grill, because it's the only one out of this handful in view that has a 100% accuracy, meaning 10 out of the last 10 years, CMG over this specific date range from the start date of January 2nd to an end date of January 30th has moved higher. So let's click on the CMG ticker symbol, and on a spare piece of paper to our right, we want to write the data that we have here and all. So we want to write down the end date, which is January 30th, because we're going to pick an options expiration just past that end date. And that expiration is going to be January 31st. So we're going to try to set up an option trade with a January 31st expiration. We don't do an expiration sooner than the end date, because we want to give this stock or ETF a chance to run its full date range that was done in the previous 10 years analysis. So we have January 30th as an end date, an average trade of 27.97. Write that down. Average profit or average trade 27.97. You want to also write down the current or closing price for CMG, and we're going to presume that this is just end of day, because it's going to be that anyhow in the next minute or so. So it's looking like 836.83 is what I'm writing down. Add to that the average price of 27.97, and that establishes a price target. So 864.80 is the price target. And you can see that the average profit on the power meter has been sloping upward in the more recent years compared to the cumulative 10 years overall. Our largest price move was last year, and we're going to see if we can capitalize on that move again this coming year. So there's what it did last year, a nice upward move. I'd even take half of that this time. But now we have all that we need to write down. CMG, the ticker, the price target 864.80. The end date is January 30th, so our expirations for our options are the one expiration just past that end date, which is January 31st. So now let's go to the options. So let's go up to searchers, multi-strategies and fine trades, and you're going to change the symbol to CMG and then click on change, because if you don't, it's going to default back to what the symbol data was before you changed it here in the stock symbols box. But again, you have to click change to make sure the data you're going to pull in now is for the actual symbol you want. So let's leave it bullish. We want less than 45 days, and it's so high in price that we're not likely to find a call option that's less than $5 alone. So we're going to look at a call debit spread for stocks in this price range. So let's leave it as a call spread debit and click on search. And what you're going to find out is when you scroll through the options that are going to populate here once this refreshes, you're not going to see any options available for the January 31st expiration that we want. There's just too many of them. It doesn't mean that they don't exist. It's just they're not coming through on the first run through on this search. One other thing we want to look at is earnings. is there an earnings report due for CMG prior to our end date or our expiration? And there's not. I looked up on earningswhispers.com. The earnings for CMG is February 4th. Our expiration is January 31st, and our end date is January 30th. So we don't have to contend with earnings on this one. And as stated, if you look down, there's hardly anything. In fact, there's nothing there for January 31st. I think it farthest it goes out is January 24th. So we do it the old school way. We're going to have to go back up to the option and then option chain. Now, with a call debit spread, what we want to do is see if we can get a chance to double on our option. One other thing we want to look at is the max profitability. In order to reach max profitability at expiration, the stock needs to trade above the sold short leg of our spread. We're going to buy to open one strike, sell to open another strike, but we want the stock to be above the sold to open strike. So if we're at 864.80 on our target, I want less than 864.80 on a strike. So I'm going to sell to open at least the 860 strike. Now you can go down to an 850, an 855, an 845. You know, you can generally start with a $10 wide spread or even work out a $5 wide spread. That's up to you. We're not trying to use this as a butterfly and catch it within a specific price range. We just need the stock to be above the sold short leg. So here we are. We want to change this to the January 31st expiration. Put a check mark in that box. Take it out of the January 3rd box and then click update. When this comes in, we're going to have the options data table for options expiring 31 days out, and that's the January 31st 2020 options. So let's go down to the strikes that's in the middle column here and find the 860 strike, because that's the one we know we want to sell. So I will put a -1 in there. We're selling instead of buying. If we're buying, we just put in the number 1, but we're selling, we say -1. And then let's just start with an 865. You can go down to the 855. You can go to the 850 and create a $10 wide spread and see what the returns look like. But we have an 860, 855. We're going to scroll back up and click risk graph. We're going to see that on a $5 wide spread, the cost for the spread is $185. Now, if the stock goes up above 860, the markets can call this stock away from us at $860, which is fine because then we have the right to call it away at $855, making the $5 difference in the spread. But in order to get that $5, it's costing us $1.85 or $185 per contract to do that. Our net result would be then $315. So if we spend $185 per contract for this 855, 860 spread, and we stand to make $315 max profit, that could be 170% ROI. That's pretty solid. So let's go ahead and use this as our case study, and you can see what it looks like down below where it needs to be for max profitability. Anything above that price, 860 or higher, we have that potential for $315 per contract. So let's go ahead. If you have your folders already created, if not, look at the videos on how to create a folder. We're going to click on that, go to our money calendar buy or money calendar bullish or whatever you've labeled your bullish money calendar trade folder. You do that and then you click on save, and then you can track this from here on out. This is not a recommendation to do this trade, but it's just a simple case study showing you the mechanics and the navigation and what we do to find the money calendar candidate, assess a price target and expiration date, build an option trade around it with the intent or the purpose being find an opportunity to double. So there you have it, folks. Happy New Year, and we'll talk to you soon.